Why would an author with a massive online following, over 2 million Instagram fans, suddenly vanish without a word? That's the question echoing across social media ever since Colleen Hoover, writer of the best-selling novel It Ends With Us, deactivated her Instagram account. At first, fans assumed it might be a temporary break, but as hours turned into days, the internet realized something bigger might be brewing. People began wondering, was it backlash from her alignment with Blake Lively? Could she be caught in the crossfire of a rumored feud with Justin Baldoni, who had originally championed her novel? Or was the pressure of Hollywood controversies and personal critiques just too much? On the surface, It Ends With Us is an emotional story of domestic challenges and breaking destructive cycles. The novel found enormous success, especially after going viral on TikTok. Soon after, word spread that Justin Baldoni had snagged the rights to adapt the book. Fans were overjoyed, trusting that Justin, known for his thoughtful approach to storytelling, would honor the novel's deeply personal themes. Then came the announcement that Blake Lively was joining the project. It was an A-list coup, raising eyebrows and excitement alike. In theory, combining star power with a beloved bestseller should have been a recipe for box office gold. But in Hollywood, there's always more than meets the eye. Rumors suggest script disagreements, possible off-camera flirtation, and allegations so dramatic that some have branded Blake as an Amber Heard 2.0. Meanwhile, Justin allegedly feels cornered, claiming his directorial vision was hijacked. Now, with lawyers possibly circling, and with fans pointing fingers at Colleen for siding with star power, the whole endeavor feels like it's teetering on the edge. And in the midst of it all, Colleen's sudden Instagram disappearance has become the biggest clue that something is seriously amiss. In this deep dive, we'll pull back the curtain on the entire fiasco. We'll trace the early beginnings of It Ends With Us as a modest novel, explore how Justin discovered it, examine Blake's meteoric entrance onto the scene, and dissect how fan speculation spiraled into a massive meltdown. By the end, you'll see why Colleen's departure from social media might not be just a digital detox, but possibly a strategic or emotionally necessary retreat from a drama that's grown too big to handle. Before It Ends With Us skyrocketed on Book Talk, it was simply one title among many in the realm of contemporary fiction. Yes, Colleen Hoover had gained recognition with other works, but this book had a special resonance, touching on themes of domestic abuse, resilience, and heartbreak. It connected deeply with readers who appreciated its raw, emotional honesty. Reviews started piling up on blogs, and word of mouth spread like wildfire across romance reader circles. Enter Justin Baldoni, who encountered It Ends With Us at a point when it was garnering momentum but hadn't yet exploded in mainstream media. Known for his portrayal of Raphael in Jane the Virgin, Justin had also ventured behind the camera, directing and producing content that emphasized empathy and positive change. When he reportedly reached out to Colleen, fans saw it as a match made in heaven. Here was a producer attuned to heartfelt storytelling, ready to give cinematic life to a novel that readers cherish. At first, the synergy was apparent. Early interviews or social media posts hinted at the mutual respect between Colleen and Justin. She praised his sensitivity to the subject matter. He marveled at her storytelling. Enthusiastic TikTokers cut together clips of them discussing the project, fueling the hype. It was shaping up to be an authentic adaptation that would honor the heavy themes at the book's core. That was, of course, until the next major piece of the puzzle dropped onto the table, changing the dynamic in ways few anticipated. News that Blake Lively was joining the cast sent the internet into a frenzy. Known for her wit, glamour, and a knack for playing women with complex inner lives, Blake brought instant star wattage to the adaptation. Her involvement signaled a transition from a niche passion project to a potential box office and streaming juggernaut. After all, Blake's social media presence and high profile guaranteed that more eyes would be on It Ends With Us than ever before. In many ways, this was every author's dream. An A-lister with proven comedic and dramatic range investing in your story. Fans at first felt this was cause for celebration, envisioning Blake in the film's lead role, delivering a performance that might mirror the emotional roller coaster readers had experienced. However, enthusiasm quickly mingled with skepticism. Speculation arose that Blake might bring her own creative input, perhaps even demand, to the table. Insiders whispered about tension. Did Justin want a more subdued, raw portrayal, whereas Blake gravitated toward a polished Hollywood angle? What complicated matters further were rumors about behind-the-scenes friction, alleged script rewrites, rumored power plays, and hush-hush flirtations threw the entire project into disarray. No one knew for certain whether these allegations were legitimate or the byproduct of bored internet sleuths, but the noise around it was too loud to ignore. Then, fans noticed that Colleen Hoover seemed to be leaning towards supporting Blake's vision in certain interviews or social media posts that would soon vanish along with her Instagram presence. Part of the drama stems from the perception that Colleen Hoover switched sides. Early on, she had been effusive in praising Justin Baldoni, thanking him publicly for believing in her novel when it was still a relatively small success. Yet, as soon as Blake's name entered the mix, people saw a noticeable shift. Colleen's comments, tweets, or interviews started emphasizing Blake's star power, with only occasional nods to Justin's initial support. For some fans, fans, this felt like a betrayal. Justin Baldoni wasn't just another producer. He'd been the first to champion the emotional integrity of It Ends With Us. Yet, from the outside, it appeared that Colleen was charmed by the glitz and glamour that Blake brought, essentially sidelining the man who'd been a partner from the beginning. Suddenly, fan forums and Reddit threads labeled Colleen as an opportunist. They argued she was chasing clout, possibly in pursuit of bigger box office numbers or a more prestigious film release. But was there something more complicated at play? Could it be that Blake's proposed changes were actually beneficial, and Colleen genuinely believed they'd enhance the story's impact? Or maybe the studio executives applied pressure, pointing out that a major celebrity's input carries weight in greenlighting decisions and final budgets. Regardless, the public's perception quickly soured. A once adoring readership began sending Colleen criticism and, in some cases, outright hostility. Disillusionment set in as fans felt the serious subject matter was being overshadowed by potential ego clashes and sensational rumors. Talk of lawsuits started to percolate online, adding a new layer to the drama. If you believe the whispers, Justin Baldoni was considering, or actively pursuing, legal action against certain parties involved in the project, possibly concerning defamation, breach of contract, or interfering with his directorial privileges. No one had concrete details, but the gossip mill was in overdrive. To make matters worse, a few internet personalities, notably Perez Hilton, flung around the moniker Amber Heard 2.0, seemingly comparing Blake to another high-profile actress infamous for contradictory narratives and messy public claims. The Amber Heard 2.0 label might be sensationalistic, but it highlights a belief that Blake was steering the conversation to her advantage, or that her stance was undermined by newly revealed receipts. Some social media posts claimed that Blake, ironically, hadn't finished reading the entire novel she was helping adapt. That incited a wave of outrage among It Ends With Us loyalists who found it disrespectful, especially for a story dealing with the emotional scars it leaves behind. Critics argued that associating Blake Lively with such a fraught label was reckless, stoking divisiveness without concrete proof. Others countered that where there's smoke, there's fire. If key elements of the script had shifted drastically, and if a star's input overshadowed the original author and director, maybe the meltdown was inevitable. This legal storm, whether it's fully real or partially fueled by rumor, escalated tension to a point where the environment around the film felt toxic. As a result, fans started turning to Colleen Hoover, demanding clarity. But they found none, especially when Colleen decided to remove herself from social media altogether. One of the strangest facets of this chaos is the silence of Ryan Reynolds, who's usually the first to crack a joke or deflect controversy with humor. Ryan's brand has always been about turning potential PR nightmares into comedic gold. For instance, whenever rumors swirl around his family life or professional ventures, he's quick to respond with a witty tweet or Instagram post that shows both humility and charm. This time, however, he hasn't said a word. Fans aren't used to seeing Ryan go radio silent, especially if it involves his wife. The hush leads to all sorts of speculation. Is he quietly seething over the negativity swirling around Blake? Or is he fully supportive but bound by a legal directive not to aggravate the situation? Some believe he's behind the scenes orchestrating a more subtle approach, perhaps advising Blake to avoid fueling the gossip cycle. The lack of Ryan's trademark one-liners and comedic deflections only add to the tension. Typically, his public endorsement could quell at least some of the swirling allegations, reassuring fans that everything's under control. Yet the absence of his voice suggests that maybe this drama is more complicated than your typical celebrity tip. If he can't spin it, or isn't trying to, then the meltdown might truly be as serious as people fear. This silence, oddly enough, stands as one of the biggest red flags that the entire situation has careened off into a realm where lighthearted jokes aren't enough to patch things up. The moment fans noticed Colleen Hoover's Instagram page was gone, screenshots flooded Twitter. She had 2 million followers. Why would she delete everything? And most compellingly, is she running from backlash? Not long before this disappearance, Colleen was facing intense criticism for betraying Justin and potentially endorsing questionable moves by Blake. Much of this vitriol came from fans who felt personally invested in It Ends With Us due to its sensitive portrayal of domestic trauma. This isn't the first time Colleen has been under fire. A few months back, she announced an It Ends With Us coloring book, which sparked outrage given the book's themes. She swiftly apologized and canceled that project. Nonetheless, the memory of that misstep lingers among fans who see a pattern in her decision. Accusations that she's willing to leverage serious issues for profit or attention. The current meltdown, however, dwarfs that earlier controversy by several magnitudes, making it somewhat understandable that she might need an escape route. But removing herself from social media doesn't quell the fire. It only stokes it further. Many interpret it as a sign of guilt or regret. If Colleen were confident in her position, wouldn't she stick around and clarify her stance? Alternatively, some fans defend her, arguing that social media can be toxic and that a mental health break is justified, especially when personal attacks escalate. Either way, Colleen's absence is conspicuous, and the timing is too intertwined with the Hollywood drama to dismiss as a coincidence. For thousands of readers, It Ends With Us is more than just a page-turner. It's a rare mainstream novel that navigates the complexities of domestic abuse, the cycle of trauma, and the emotional scars it leaves. Many see themselves or their loved ones in its characters, finding a sense of solidarity and hope. That's precisely why this swirling scandal feels like such a betrayal. A story meant to shine light on sensitive topics is now overshadowed by sensational rumors about lawsuits, creative control, and potential personality clashes. When a project that's supposed to amplify underrepresented voices or traumatic experiences devolves into gossip fodder, it cheapens the entire endeavor. Critics worry that by the time the film hit theaters or streaming platforms, the public conversation will revolve around alleged flirty tech, hidden romantic entanglements, or big egos butting heads. The novel's deeper purpose could get lost in the tabloid sheen. Meanwhile, the marketing team, whose job is to promote the adaptation, faces a nightmare scenario. Typically, you'd expect a strong PR push focusing on the film's emotional depth and the devotion of its talented cast. Now, any marketing attempt risks stoking more curiosity about behind-the-scenes drama. People may attend out of intrigue to see if tension creeps onto the screen, overshadowing the story's delicate subject matter. Sometimes, controversy does drive sales, but it can also eclipse the important messages that made the novel so beloved in the first place. The Meltdown underscores a broader issue: the power and volatility of modern fandoms. Colleen Hoover built her career partially on the intimate relationship she fostered with readers, especially through social media. Fans trusted her to handle tough topics with care, champion empathy, and remain authentic. Yet in the eyes of many, her support for an allegedly Hollywoodized adaptation feels like she's sold out or turned her back on authenticity. It doesn't help that some fans already felt burned by the coloring book incident. Although Colleen apologized, that lapse showed she might not always gauge fan sentiment accurately. Now, with It Ends With Us heading to the big screen, the stakes are much higher. The sense of betrayal cut deeper when you consider how personally many readers connected with the book's subject matter. While most authors yearn for a film adaptation, they also have to protect the integrity of the story, especially one dealing with painful, real-life issues. This fan disillusionment isn't limited to Colleen either. Justin Baldoni, once seen as a champion, may be overshadowed by bigger stars, potentially being sidelined in creative decisions. Meanwhile, Blake Lively's brand, generally positive and polished, faces a test. If enough people perceive her as manipulating the adaptation or ignoring the novel's emotional roots, it could dent the trust even her most loyal fans have in her. The entire fiasco reminds us how quickly fandom can turn if they sense deception, moral compromise, or disrespect for the source material. While the drama swirling around It Ends With Us is intense, it's worth considering that not all rumors prove accurate. Hollywood adaptations often involve multiple rewrites, creative brainstorming sessions, and even heated debates that are a normal part of the process. The difference here might simply be that the spotlight on Colleen Hoover and her novel is so strong, and the fans so emotionally invested, that every misstep or rumor is magnified tenfold. For all we know, Blake Lively could be putting forth legitimate, well-intentioned suggestions, believing they'd strengthen the movie. Maybe Justin Baldoni's concerns revolve more around scheduling or budgetary constraints than any deep personal rift. Perhaps Colleen Hoover's Instagram exit is purely for mental health reasons, stepping away from the negativity rather than harboring regret or guilt. In a place as rumor-driven as Tinseltown, misunderstandings can easily morph into conspiracies overnight. That said, the lack of clear communication from any key player, Blake, Justin, Ryan, or Colleen, only feeds the internet's appetite for dramatic theories. If a single press statement addressed some of these controversies head-on, the collective tension might subside. But because we're left with cryptic social media clues, alleged leaks, and sensational headlines, it's nearly impossible for fans to separate fact from fiction. This environment all but guarantees that speculation continues running wild, for better or worse. Before this current meltdown, Colleen Hoover was riding high on a wave of popularity, with It Ends With Us topping bestseller lists and dominating TikTok recommendations. Then came the ill-fated announcement of an It Ends With Us coloring book, a tie-in product that immediately struck many readers as insensitive, given the novel's themes of domestic trauma. Critics on social media were swift and harsh in their condemnation, some describing it as tone-deaf and baffling. Why turn scenes of abuse and heartbreak into colorable outlines? Colleen eventually posted an apology, acknowledging the miscalculation. She scrapped the project, but the incident served as an early warning sign that the author might be misjudging the emotional stakes for her fanbase. That fiasco pales in comparison to the ongoing meltdown, but it set a precedent. Fans realized Colleen could, at times, make decisions they viewed as out of touch with the novel's core message. Now, with the bigger Hollywood adaptation underway, those same fans are looking at her choices and alliances under an even more powerful microscope. It's possible that the blowback from the coloring book debacle still weighs on Colleen. She might be hyper-aware of how any misstep can ignite controversy. With the high-profile nature of a star like Blake Lively, the potential for further misstep only increases. So when fans started questioning her loyalty loyalty to Justin, how the film might approach heavy topics, and whether she was ignoring the serious message for Hollywood clout. She might have deemed it best to exit Instagram before a fresh wave of backlash overwhelmed her again. In the wake of swirling controversies, the typical Hollywood move involves hiring high-powered public relations teams to spin the narrative in a more favorable direction. Usually, we'd see carefully timed statements, exclusive interviews with major publications, and behind-the-scenes photos portraying everyone laughing and hugging on set, anything to show unity. Oddly, we haven't seen a strong, unified front here. Instead, each party appears to be navigating the storm on their own terms, or remaining silent altogether. One possibility is that the production studios are scrambling to contain leaks while also preventing any statements that could be used in court if the rumored lawsuit moves forward. If lawyers are indeed involved, they might have placed a gag order or advised everyone to keep quiet till the legal dust settles. That, however, does little to help the film's public image in the meantime. Rumors don't just vanish, they fester. In Hollywood, negative press isn't always a death sentence. Some films draw enormous crowds precisely because audiences are intrigued by the scandals that plague production. When there's a meltdown of this scale, curiosity often spikes, compelling people to see for themselves how the final product turned out. The real danger is that the film's thematic depth could be overshadowed by the spectacle. At its heart, It Ends With Us is about a woman confronting past traumas to carve out a healthier future, shattering harmful patterns along the way. The authenticity of that journey is what made the novel so beloved. If the cinematic adaptation feels glossy and out of touch, or if rumors about meddling overshadow the actual performances, fans could walk away disappointed, feeling that the integrity of the story was compromised. Still, the movie could, in theory, be excellent. Blake Lively is undeniably talented. Justin Baldoni has proven directorial chops, and Colleen Hoover's source material is powerful. It could even happen that once the dust settles, the adaptation wins over critics and fans who see the emotional depth brought to life on screen. However, a giant asterisk remains: the public's perception. If the lawsuit rumor gains traction, or if fans believe that the film's production involved underhanded maneuvers, some potential audience members might boycott out of principle. Then again, others might line up just to see if the off-screen tension translates to electric on-screen chemistry. With all the personalities involved, like Lively, Justin Baldoni, Colleen Hoover, and possibly even Ryan Reynolds, the narrative could shift at any moment. Hollywood loves a good redemption arc. If, for instance, a heartfelt joint interview emerged featuring Justin and Blake talking about the challenges they faced and how they overcame them for the sake of the film, the public might soften. Colleen might return to social media with a clear, empathetic explanation, winning back the fans who felt betrayed. On the flip side, it could also unravel further. More receipts or alleged text exchanges might leak, painting one or more parties in an even worse light. The lawsuit could drag everyone into a messy court battle, splashing embarrassing headlines across tabloids for months. If test audiences dislike the final cut, the meltdown might crystallize into a cautionary tale about what happens when stardom overshadows earnest storytelling. One key takeaway from this entire situation is the fragility of creator-fan relationship in the modern era. Social media allows authors like Colleen Hoover to connect with readers on a daily basis. This closeness can be a double-edged sword. On one hand, it fosters loyalty and helps build a devoted community. On the other hand, if fans sense a betrayal or a lapse in judgment, they can turn just as passionately against the creator. Colleen's abrupt departure from Instagram may well be a defensive move against a torrent of negativity. Yet, the silence it leaves behind allows fans to fill the void with their own narratives, many of which may be harsher than any official explanation. It's a lose-lose scenario. Speak up and risk further scrutiny, or vanish and let speculation reign. The meltdown underscores just how quickly things can escalate when a book dear to so many hearts transitions into a high-stakes Hollywood production. As it stands, the It Ends With Us adaptation still moves forward. At least, that's the official word. The question is, how will the production and those involved handle the next steps? If there's wisdom guiding them, they'll refocus on the core message of the story, about breaking generational patterns of abuse and finding courage in vulnerability. This means giving the film the emotional grounding that originally endeared it to millions of readers. Will Colleen Hoover return to social media with a well-thought-out statement, or will she keep her distance indefinitely? Will Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni address the swirling rumors through interviews or remain tight-lipped, hoping the scandal fades? And what about Ryan Reynolds? Could he eventually provide a unifying spark of humor or clarity that helped defuse some of the tension? Right now, everything is up in the air, leaving fans to oscillate between excitement for the adaptation and frustration over the overshadowing drama. One thing's certain, the stakes have never been higher for a film adaptation of a beloved book. If the team can pull together and deliver a faithful, emotionally resonant experience, they might win back doubters. But if the meltdown continues and the adaptation disappoints, It Ends With Us could join the list of cautionary tales about how a promising story got lost in the glare of Hollywood lights.